Hello and welcome. I'm Tom Burgess-Watson. You're watching W News, broadcasting live from the Al Arabiya headquarters. These are our top stories. Israel says that all civilians are in bomb shelters after Iran launched missiles into the country after troops from Israel launched a ground incursion into southern Lebanon. As missiles are launched from Iran, warning sirens from Israel's Home Front Command are sounding in Jerusalem and across the country. And Israel's police say that at least 4 people are known to have been killed following a shooting attack in Jaffa. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. We begin with the latest in Israel, where officials say that all civilians have been directed to bomb shelters. This after Iran launched missiles into the country. Warning sirens are reported to be ringing out across entire swathes of Israel, following on from an alert by Israel's Home Front Command. Well, this comes after a senior White House official warned that the US had information that Iran was indeed preparing to launch such a missile attack on Israel. Well, in another development, the Israeli police say that 4 people have been killed and 7 others have been injured after a gunman opened fire in Tel Aviv. Well, all this comes after Israeli forces entered Lebanon for what the military described as a limited, localized and targeted ground operation against Hezbollah. Meanwhile, Israeli airstrikes are ongoing in Lebanon. The IDF has confirmed strikes in Beirut, while Lebanese officials have reported that a building in a Palestinian refugee camp near Sidon has been hit. Well, for more on the situation, we can speak now to Simon Leden, who is the former US Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for the Middle East. Thank you so much for speaking to us. I mean, Simon, events couldn't be happening any faster, a very rapidly developing situation across the region. Let's start by talking about this Iranian missile strike on Israel. What are your thoughts as you receive this information?
Well, I think in a way we should, in a strange way, almost be grateful for this because the mask is off. Israel has been in a conflict with Hezbollah, which is a proxy of Iran. But until now, Iran has sort of stayed in the background, content to let its proxies absorb the damage of Israel's response. I think now, in case it wasn't obvious before, the cat is out of the bag. This is Iran directing all of these activities, and now I think we're in a new phase of this conflict, very clearly so.
And what would you characterize this new phase as being, then, Simone?
Well, I think, as I mentioned, I believe that Iran has come out of the shadows. Iran has launched this ballistic missile attack against Israel. And now it's unfortunately a full-fledged war between the two countries. I believe this is also a demonstration of the failed foreign policy of the Biden-Harris administration. Because their stated goal for the last several years, and especially since October 7th, was to avoid a regional conflict. And instead, what we're seeing is this escalating regional conflict that has now brought us to where we are today.
Well, to be fair, I mean, the Biden administration did urge for ceasefires, it urged diplomacy, and it appeared until last night that was their preferred course of action, although Lloyd Austin did give Israel the green light for this limited incursion into Lebanese territory. But you're saying that the diplomacy has been a failure. Is that the essence of what you're saying?
Yes, and I would use a different word. I would use the word appeasement. I think this administration has shown a policy and pursued a policy of appeasement toward the Islamic Republic of Iran. And I believe it's invited this level of violence. I believe Iran and its proxies viewed the United States as a weak country at the moment, and believed that now was the time to attack. Again, this began a year ago with Hamas attacking Israel. Israel defending itself, Israel going into Lebanon in the past days and attacking the leadership of Hezbollah in order to return its citizens to their homes in northern Israel. So unfortunately, this is something that Israel has had to engage in, has tried to avoid engaging in, and now, unfortunately, it's time to, I believe it's time for the United States to fully support Israel in its quest for peace for its population and citizens, and for the region. I believe after this conflict is over, and hopefully there's a decisive victory, I believe we can return to peace in the region.
There was a warning that came from Washington, a warning aimed at Iran, as it became apparent that this attack on Israeli territory was imminent. They warned of serious consequences. That's what Washington warned Iran of. What might we be talking of in terms of those serious consequences? What sort of scenarios can you envisage?
Well, it's hard to know what this administration means when it talks about serious consequences. It's also threatened serious consequences against the Houthis for their destabilizing activities in the Red Sea, and we really haven't seen serious consequences. Of course, there has been some response. For example, the targeting of the Hodeidah port the other day. And some would argue, actually, that was Israel's action and not the United States action, although reports do indicate that the United States was informed prior to that particular operation. But serious consequences in this context, it's hard to know what they mean because, again, up until now, when talking about the U.S. With respect to the Islamic Republic of Iran, has pursued a policy of appeasement. And there are many things that the United States could have done to prevent the situation from escalating to this point. And they did not do it. I understand the focus on diplomacy, and I think diplomacy is important. But when you don't have the teeth behind the diplomacy, you have to have a stick along with the carrot. And when you're just offering a carrot without a stick, there's really it's really less appetizing. So I think that's where we've landed, and we're seeing that play out, unfortunately. And now I think we're going to have to follow this to the end. And I hope that our leaders here in the U.S. fully support Israel and their need to defend their citizens.
Yeah, we're just getting word from the Reuters news agency. They're quoting Israeli army radio as saying that some 200 missiles were launched into Israel from Iran. That sounds like a huge number. Does this sound a bit like what happened in April when Iran carried out a similar retaliatory, they would say, strike on Israel, or is this on a different scale?
Again, these are initial reports, but I believe this might be a larger scale than what we saw in April. Of course, every time one of these sort of escalatory actions, back and forth exchange of missiles or drones or whatever it may be, today it's missiles. I believe that that each side learns from that and they adjust accordingly. I think we're also witnessing, unfortunately, an ongoing situation on the ground in Tel Aviv with active shooters and mass casualty situation. So there are multiple sort of lines of attack that are underway, and I think, I think it's important to note that as well.
Yeah, surely. I mean, a very fast-moving situation. We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you for taking the time to speak to us, Simone Leedham. Thank you very much indeed. Well, let's cross now to Tel Aviv, and we can speak to our correspondent there, Trent Murray. Trent, just tell us the latest that you're hearing at this stage.